ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
More bricks being laid on the road to the 2024 season, the 105th in Chicago Bears history, with the start of rookie minicamp later this week. And we welcome in to episode 67 of the Bears Etc. podcast. Jeff Joniak here with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, my broadcast partner, and our special guest this week who had a memorable rookie season for the Bears back in 1990, the 6th overall pick from USC, the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, a 3-time Pro Bowler, Mark Carrier, a.k.a. the Hammer. The Hammer. You know, we're old school football here, so we love the big hits, and you delivered plenty. And, you know, tell us the story of the Hammer, though, where that came from.
Well, it's funny because, this generation, and my kids who are, my son's 28, my daughter's 26, they have no clue about this. But it's funny how, people, my football life, people know me as Hammer. Everybody else outside of that know me as Mark. And my college life, everybody know me as Aircraft Carrier. So it's funny how we all have different world, but how Hammer came about, at the time, people have to understand, MC Hammer was really big at the time in the early 90s. He was big, was blown up in the 90s, but how I got the name is in practice and then sometimes in games, mostly in games, I would hit Chico, Ron Rivera a couple times, him and Singletary, I just nailed him in the back.
Friendly fire.
And I remember Chico one time telling me, Mark, if you hit me one more time, I'm gonna kick your ass on the field. So the person who actually really gave me that name was Ron Rivera, Chico. He named me Hammer because I was hammering those guys in the back at times. And Kobe was MC Hammer was big at that time, so that's why I ran with that theory.
Mark, I was, just kind of reminiscing about your career and thinking back about when you came aboard, how you're drafted from USC. But then I also saw a video of you, and the first highlight they showed of you was launching into a tackle. And so it made me think immediately, okay, the funds that you would have had to supply the league for some of the hits that you had.
Oh, easily 150.
Yeah. But you know what? Because you're so still involved in the sport and the way that the game of the safeties have to morph into a more legalized hitting, do you think they're kind of making the tackling target too difficult for the safety position?
Well, yeah. Well, for anyone, really, it's just so hard, Tommy and Jeff, is that because and I get it why they're doing it. We all understand safety. Safety is always going to be a big part of it, not just for the person you're hitting, but also for the player who's doing the hitting. But what happens is you don't take into account what the other player, the one you're going to tackle, what he might do, meaning how he might react as far as ducking, not ducking, going high. When those split-second situations happen, I might have a target on you right around your belly button. But if you react and turn a certain way, I might nail you in the side of the head, depending on how you're reacting. Yeah,
so, Mark, and it kind of I'll eventually lead into Caleb Williams. However, when you think of the school that you came from, you think of some of the guys that played the position before you, guys like Ronnie Lott and stuff. When you play a position at USC that has Hall of Famers and some of the best that ever played the position like that, do you have to carry that on to your USC career and then carry that on to your NFL career? Because I'm so familiar with the rivalry between Notre Dame and USC, and I know a lot of the great names that have come out of USC, but when you think about the position success that's come out of USC, the safety position is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the SC greats, Tim McDonald, Ronnie Lott, Dennis Smith. Both those guys should be in a Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Obviously, Troy Polamalu, who is in a Hall of Fame. Dennis Thurman, another one who set the standards. My big thing initially when I went to USC, Tom and Jeff, was I wanted those guys to come, and when they saw me play, felt good about my play and that I was holding up my end of the legacy and the defensive backs. That's all I wanted. I just want to be included in their name. The best is always subjective. In my mind, Ronnie Lott's one of the best football players ever played in college or pro. But I just wanted to make sure when I played and I represented USC that those guys felt really good about my play and how I did. Now, the flip side of that, as you take that to the NFL, as we came after like 93 and the CBA started changing and they start putting more emphasis on safeties, and the rules of safety in the game, and you're going out flying around hitting people, especially leading with your helmet, that became a finable offense. And you had mentioned earlier, it talked about target. And I'm all for it. And I coached in the NFL for 10 years, so I had to teach guys how to hit proper way of hitting and the target. And you always have to lower your target. But if you're going, again, the part that the NFL doesn't take into I don't think take into consideration is that I'm going at you, Tom, and I'm aiming at your belt buckle, your belly button, and I'm going, and all of a sudden you see me and you embrace and turn or something and drop your body, drop your head or something, and all of a sudden we hit helmets. I can't control that. That was an instinctive reaction that wasn't my target. There's one thing about leap. I mean, they've gotten better, and I've had it where I've left my feet, go airborne, and trying to just knock a guy out. But the difference of now, where you're trying to target and bring your target down low, you do that, but sometimes you can't control what the other player, how he reacts, and when you not. And when that happens, I think when they study it back in New York, they have to be a little bit more cautious of, okay, how did this happen? Did he leave his feet? Was he going projecting out to go take a guy, try to hit a guy in his face? Or was he at least trying to aim the right way, and the reaction of the player maybe caused some of that?
Mark Carey, our guest here on the Bears Etc. podcast. This episode of Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. The Bears picking you at number 6. And at that time, it was okay to pick safeties in the top 10. Nobody was wigging out. Right? Nobody was wigging out. And so you were one of the... what's that?
I said I made the trend started going downward after that.
Yeah, it sure did. Caden Bullock out of USC picked in the 3rd round this year by the Houston Texans. When you got to the Bears, they then decided, okay, we're going to part company with a 4-time Pro Bowler, Dave Dewar, the late Dave Dewerson. So he went on to the Giants to make room essentially for you and put Sean Gale down to strong safety. So as a rookie, what did that do for your pressure? Because you're on a veteran team, they're looking at you to be the last line of defense with a great pass rush, and here you take the ball away 10 times.
Well, first, I have to pay respect to Double D, Dave Dewerson, because even when I came in, one of the first people to really reach out and help me get acclimated to the NFL was Dave Dewerson. I mean, Dave, and he knew the business, knew what was going on, but that didn't stop him from really helping me try to get acclimated, help me learn the defense, learn the NFL ways. I owe him, a lot, and he kind of knew what was going on, but it didn't stop him from really helping me get assimilated to NFL lifestyle. Go figure, Notre Dame guy helping an SC guy. Who would have thought? So I owe Dave a lot for that. I have nothing but positive respect and admiration for Dave and what he did for me to get my career. But coming into the Bears, and Tom was part of that team, it was still a lot of those, the 85 team that still hovers even today in Chicago, hovers big on the loom large in the city, and rightfully so. It were before their time, the characters that they had, how they went about doing it, what they did and knew what you were going to do. And to come in there and replace a popular player, that was tough. They didn't, and they got after me. They got after me pretty good at times, and not because they didn't like me. Is that what I've learned at the time, and I tell this to players when I get a chance to mentor them. They weren't harsh on me, especially in training camp early, because they didn't like me. They just didn't know me, and they didn't trust me yet. I had to establish trust with those guys, with the veteran guys, with the Hamptons, the Singletaries, Richard Dents, McMichaels, those guys, Sean Gale Smith, those guys didn't know they could trust me yet. They didn't know. I mean, case in point, one time, Tommy probably won't remember this. It's late October or something, late October. We're going out for a walkthrough, and I got my hoodie, sweatshirt. I got all sweatshirts, sweatpants. I got everything on. You know, it's only maybe 60, 65 degrees or something. For a California guy, it felt like 35. And I'm going out to the field with all that gear on just for a walkthrough. And these guys are looking at me, waiting at me. And Tom knows that, you know, Jeff, that old facility was you walk up a ramp to the field. And they were sitting there looking at me and they're like, what the hell are you doing? I said, what do you mean? I'm going for the walkthrough. What the hell you got all that? Take that, go back in that and go take that crap off. You're not walking out here with that on. I'm like, screw you guys. I'm going out here because I want to go to a walkthrough. You can't tell me what to wear. Hey, and finally, hey, either you take it off or we're going to take it off. So, you know, I got smart. I was somewhat mad, went to practice. But Mike Singletary came over to me afterwards, Mike does, afterwards, and put his arm, you know, and said, young man, as he called me, young man, do you understand what they were doing? I said, Mike, they were trying to test me. They're trying to punk me. They're trying to see if I would be, you know, just try to see, they just want to pump me. He said, no, it wasn't, nothing had nothing to do with that. They were worried that they see you coming out in 60-degree weather, dressed, trying to stay warm. They're worried that when we go to Green Bay in December and it's 30 below, you're not going to be able, are you going to be worried about staying warm or going to be worried about doing your job? They wanted to know that they can trust you because me and Mike gave the signals. They want to be able to trust you to know that in certain situations that they can trust you to do your job. If you can't do that, they don't want to play with you. So that was kind of a life lesson for me for football, of establishing trust. They wanted to know they can trust me when it counted on the road in tough situations.
You know, Mark, when minicamp starts, it's I don't know if you guys even had a rookie minicamp. Did you guys?
No, we got thrown in with the big boys.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give this group, this selection of 5 and a lot of undrafted free agents and a lot of tryout guys that are going to try to make the roster? This is their first introduction to the playbook and how things will go when the veterans get going in OTAs and on the minicamp, just the acclimation period. Some coaches have decided to say, hey, we're just going to have you here for one day. Here's the acclimation. Go back. We're going to go OTAs with the vets. Do you think there's benefits for guys like Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, Karan Amadaji, all these guys that are coming in this week?
Well, obviously for the quarterback, I mean, this is your guy. So You need to get him as with your veteran guys as soon as possible because you've already established this is our guy going forward. They've done a great job. Ryan Poles and the group, Ian Cunningham, who I know well, have done a great job of assimilating a really good positive group around of this young quarterback. So you've got to get him going with those guys as soon as possible. So you got to get him going. Let him go through his lumps and bumps of adjusting. And the biggest thing, and I'm curious if Tom felt the same thing, is the speed of the game. Understanding the speed of the game is one thing. Your head's going to be spinning no matter what because you're getting new jargon, new language. But the speed of the game is so much more mentally faster than just physically faster that you have to get that. You got it quicker. I remember leaving minicamp after our minicamp, going home, upset, telling my mom, I don't know if I can do this. Everybody, Tom Waddles of the world, and Glenn Kostlowski's were moving faster than me. Go figure that at that time because you were trying to process things. I'm trying to process things, but it's processed so much faster. The physical will come. It's that processing the mental part of the game so much quicker and adjustments on the fly is you can't duplicate that. You just got to get thrown into the fire and then work to figure it out and just take a step at a time, learn from the veteran guys, ask questions because that's the best you're going to do because they know you're going to be our guy. You need to know that they can count on you, that you want to learn, you want to get better.
You know, Mark, the first time I ran to the line of scrimmage in 9-on-7 up in Platteville, and Singletary and the whole crew were standing in front of me, McMichael, Hamp, Richard, and they called the offensive play. And the speed at which I saw those guys move, I kind of thought to myself, I don't know if I'm capable of this. But then you 1,000 reps later, then you start figuring, okay, I can do this. This is what I got to do. This is where I got to be and all that. So just from play 1 to play 100 to play 1,000, your whole mindset changes. And I think that really affects the value of where you're giving yourself self-confidence and where you can go. But there's one thing I wanted to ask you about, Caleb, because you talked about all the great safeties that have been at USC and kind of the pressure of the position. The pageantry of USC football, and I've been there in some big games in the Coliseum, and you see the movie stars standing on the sidelines, you see the cheerleaders, you just see the effects of USC football. You think in the modern day football, something like that and the success that Caleb has had, it'll help them acclimate to the outside of the responsibilities of the on-field stuff because of what you've already been exposed to in the star-studded part of USC football?
Yeah, I think from a social standpoint, this kid is, because he's been in that spotlight, Tommy, since he was in high school, going to Gonzaga outside of D.C. and going to Oklahoma. I mean, he played the top pick, a 5-star pick, a recruit, played at Oklahoma, which has a great tradition. Then he goes to USC, which is that not only does it have a tradition, it has the social tradition that you talked about. And then come to Chicago. I don't think that part is that's going to be such a bothersome. He just, when you see him doing different things, like you saw him at the Cubs game the other day, and he's okay in that scenario. He's so far, knock on wood, he's able to deal with that. Now, what he's going to have to see, as we all plan for the Bears, is when you get in and everybody loves you, and then you go through, you don't have success right away. And they love the beauty of our fans and the Bears fans is that they're passionate about their team. They're going to be there good, bad, or whatever, and they're going to express themselves, whether you're doing good or whether you're doing bad. Just be able to, understand you're going to get that, but block that out and not take it so personal and just stay focused on the job at hand of trying to be successful within your teammates. I think from a social standpoint, I think he'll be fine. It's just him playing for an NFL team and dealing with the social, that society that comes with it, playing for the Bears and being a quarterback, just be able to handle that. I think once he's able to deal with that and stay focused on being, just, hey, worry about winning, worry about your teammates, that other part will take care of itself. That, I think he'll be okay.
Mark Carrier, our guest here on Bears Etc. podcast. They're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears, and Game Day snacking calls for Good Foods chunky guacamole made with Hass avocados, tomatoes, onions, cilantro, and a squeeze of lime juice. It's the perfect snack to watch while the Bears win. Score some today at your local grocery store. Game Day is Guac Day. He's number 72 on the Bears 100 list, is put together by Don Pearson and Dan Pompey. 12 spots ahead of Tom Thayer.
One spot, but wait a minute, one spot behind Butthead. How do you get behind a kicker?
I didn't even notice that one. Tom, tell him what you always say when it's brought up that you're on the Bears 100 list. Ahead of
Jay Cutler. One ahead of Jay Cutler.
I'm one behind Kevin Butthead. There's a difference there.
Yeah, there is definitely a difference.
Well, that means that I'm 13 behind Kevin Butler.
Right. We didn't look at it that way.
I feel better already now.
Oh my gosh. How much did you watch, Caleb? How much did you watch Pac-12 football? Did you watch any Rome Odunze? And as a safety, seeing that guy, big and strong and a 50-50 ball catcher with speed, joining Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett and DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert. I mean, all the analysts are saying this is the most ideal situation for a rookie quarterback and, for that matter, a rookie receiver to make an instant impact. You couldn't get any better scenario.
Correct. I mean, they've done a great job of building a team. I mean, the new NFL these days is, you want to be successful early, you have to take a chance on a young quarterback, but you better have the pieces around him while he's on his rookie deal, so you can go out and pay and get the pieces needed to be successful.
I kind of think about coverage and the way the defensive coordinators inside the division are thinking. So the Bears break the huddle, and they got Cole Kmet at the line of scrimmage, and they got Rome, Keenan, and DJ out. As a safety, are you covering Cole, or are you playing deep?
Well, a lot has to depend on what do you have? What do you have up front? I mean, the game is so much different now, Tommy. As you know, it's so much more spread out. There's so much more rules that allow offenses to be able to take advantage of what the defense and the one thing everybody talks about, like playing against Brady and Peyton Manning and guys like that, is that they knew the defense as well as they knew as you did almost, because
Right.
they knew where you're in man or zone and how you rotate to. They understood where the weak spots are of defense. And I'm a big proponent. I was very fortunate to learn under Rex Ryan, Buddy's son, and defenses. And I'm a big proponent. Hey, all right, we're going to go in this game. What are we taking away? Well, we're going to make sure we take away the run. We're going to make sure we take away the run. Well, they can't do that. And then who do we need to make sure we don't get beat over top with? Do that, and then you just got to rally and make adjustments as the game goes. Part of the game on Sunday is always about adjustments, but you can't just worry about, well, who you could do. Are you double teaming DJ Moore? Are you double teaming Allen or Kmet or something? You got to figure out, okay, we got to do this. Stop this run. Make sure the receivers don't get on top of us, and just see if we can make it, just grind it out patiently, and let them, if they're comfortable enough and patient enough, to work their way down the field and see, and then play good better red zone defense, and see what we could do. But if you just hone in on one person, one thing, with the way their offense is set up, you'll get your head spinning. You're playing like you're, that terminology, you're playing like you're trying to play downhill or playing uphill. You catch you on your heels all the time. So you just got to be solid. You got to hope you got good personnel that can get pressure on the quarterback and stop the run, and then make sure you keep everything in front of you.
Now you're Coach Mark Carrier, but you're on the offensive side of the ball. What are the first, 5 things that you're going to get Caleb acclimated to so he can expedite this learning process?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously, and it sounds it sounds silly, but being able to get in and out of the huddle, making sure you had receiver. I mean, just that alone saves you a lot of. How many times have we seen over? You guys have done a ton of games where quarter coaches are coming out of a timeout, having to call another timeout, or coming off a dead ball, and you're not set. Your offense ain't ready to go, and you got to burn the timeout. So just that alone, just be able to control, get into huddle, let him know it's your huddle. Take control of the huddle. Don't be intimidated by these guys. You got to be the man to make sure. That one for me, obviously, as a quarterback, as a safety, has got to be number one. Making sure, and then the terminology, making sure you understand. I'm calling Lincoln Riley right now and asking, okay, what does he do well? How does he do this? You got to make it as simple and easy for this kid to make sure for him going forward. And then as he learns, then you build the offense from there. So I want to get that, and I'm making sure throws, matchups. Everything's about matchups. Where with this offense, you got it, like you talked about earlier. Who do you take away? What are the matchups? Where's your outlet? Understanding where your outlet is, and knowing that, hey, you're gonna have someone deep, someone in front, someone over your tight end, someone over the ball, someone in the flat. You got outlets. If nothing ain't there, don't be afraid to drop it and take what you can get. And I want my running game, my tight end and my running game is always going to be the quarterback's best friend. So make sure you got the running game.
Outside the offensive lineman.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, besides you guys,
Yeah.
here, Hilgenberg, Van Horn, Bortz, you guys. Yeah, you guys. I love you guys. You guys let me you guys used to let me work out with you guys late in the days at times. So, but yeah, I get my running game because my best friend is going to, take the pressure off that running game. And then the other thing with Caleb, I want to do is, don't be afraid to. You're a good athlete. You move around. It's okay to keep your eyes. If it ain't there, you can start to scramble, but don't be afraid to take off and move and get positive yardage. Just don't take a side. Don't force it. You don't have to. Just stay. We can get those few little things going there. we'll have a good offense. You got good personnel around you.
All right, you had 10 interceptions as a rookie, and did you think you were going to get 10 interceptions the rest of your career? Like this was no big deal because you had a pass rush of Hall of Famers, as it turns out to be. You wound up with 32. That's a big number, but it stuns me. Like Paul Krause of the NFL had 81 interceptions. 81. Kevin Byard's got 28. Our new free safety.
Yeah, at that time, where throwing wasn't a premium. That wasn't.
Exactly. It was the run game.
It wasn't. So you know what? I think I was the only one in the whole state of Illinois who realized that you're not going to get 10 interceptions in your career. Everybody else thought, because it's funny, and I'm curious. Tommy's thought of him as an individual is that I tell people all the time, I played better. Only had 2 interceptions my second year. I played better. I graded out much better my second year than I did in my first year, just because I had a better understanding of the defense. I knew things better when I didn't. I couldn't tell you, one, I'm old, two, I've been hitting the head, too. But after that rookie year, I couldn't tell you all the things that went on. I didn't know. I was just going on instinct and making sure I was where I needed to be. Where my second year, I had a much more grasp of the defense. I knew anything. I saw things better. I was in better position a lot more. I made less. I graded out, like I said, way better than I did my rookie year. But I didn't have the interceptions. I actually broke my wrist the second game of the season that year. So I played with a broken wrist the whole year and have surgery to end of January. But that's just the reality. You make adjustments. Part of the game is making adjustments. People make adjustments. People understand the defense. You, as a player, you have to make adjustments.
It's kind of, some of this stuff is spilled forward as well, because when you think of the amount of sacks that some of these teams have gotten back in the day when they had 7-step drops and an offensive tackle had no security to the right, to the left, or behind him, and now everything's shotgun, 3-step drop, RPO, get the ball out of your hand. And I think it's more difficult to get sacks nowadays than it was back in the day when athleticism at the quarterback position wasn't a premium, and some of those guys had no escapability. So, that's one of the cool things about football, Mark, from we never had a rookie mini camp, and then you go into coaching, and then you're coaching rookie mini camps, and then you come in with incredible expectations on you because you're the 6th player picked in the draft out of USC, and they didn't bring you in to play special teams. They brought you in to be a starter, the first day you got there. And so I do think that's kind of the unique things that we're fortunate to have played a long enough time, and then we get to watch the way football has developed, whether it benefits a defensive back, benefits an offensive lineman, or, some of the other analytics and stats that are a result because of it.
Well, here's my thought, Tom, talking about it. You're right. The numbers aren't the same because the game has changed so much. I think, and I'm not being critical, or I am being critical, but I'm not picking on. I think offensive line play is deteriorated greatly over the years because everybody's always in a 2-point stance, and they're just kickbacking, and just get enough to the RPOs, the balls out of his hands. And I think offensive linemen, one of the biggest things that suffered greatly has been the offensive linemen, because of this new RPO system, because they really don't have to do much run blocking where you put your hand in dirt and grind a guy out. Like, I think the only one who did that was Harbaugh in Michigan. Everybody else was still doing the RPOs and everything. So I think if there's a group that's really got hampered the most by the change of the offense, to me, it's been the offensive lineman.
Mark, I think of 10 interceptions or 1,000-yard rusher. To me, a 10 interception guy is more difficult nowadays than it is, even though there's less of a premium on having a single running back. If you have a single running back, 1,000 yards isn't that big of a benchmark with 17 games. But even with 17 games, 10 interceptions, I think it's difficult to come by in these days. You had that kid from Dallas this year who had 6 or 8 interceptions, but still in 17 games wasn't reaching 10, especially how much they throw the ball.
Yeah. And that's why the number, 10, I think it's only happened since I played maybe twice.
Well, there was an 11-year period when no one did it after you. That's a pretty significant over a decade. Yeah. So, it's hard. Diggs, he's gotten there. Some others have, but it's a rare thing.
Maybe less than 5 times since 1990. It just doesn't happen. Teams get smarter. They figure out, well, why we're not going to throw it over there. You need tip balls. I mean, it's just so like Tom was saying earlier, the pass rush is not as it was before. You're not taking 7-step drops anymore. I mean, things are just, the game changes. It just evolved. And I dropped like 3 of them that year. So, I mean, that's the one I remember more. It's like, damn, I dropped 3 interceptions that year. People don't realize that.
Vizzy Hard Seltzer, flavors for every vibe. Celebrate responsibly. Molson Coors Beverage Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And when it's time to tackle some game day deals, then go with the grocer. Has been a part of Chicago since 1899. Jewel Osco, the official grocery store of the Chicago Bears. Our remaining moments with Mark Carrier, kind enough to slice out a portion of his day, the Associate Athletic Director at Loyola Academy out there in Wilmette. Are you still doing Sports USA also?
I end up doing, when I can, I end up doing, I did 4 games last year.
Okay.
I want to say, as all the places I've been fortunate to do a few games over the last 4 or 5 years for Sports USA. You guys have the best spread ever in any game, every game I go to. When you guys invite me over, I come in there. I mean, you guys got like great spread, man. I was like, wow.
You mean the morning crab legs and shrimp
I'm like, you got like
cocktail?
Dinner at 11 o'clock in the morning.
We thank our sponsors for that for sure.
Yes, I just want to make that point. That you guys,
you never need an invitation. First of all, you're a Bear alumni, and you have king status, and there's always hot coffee in there for you on the cold days.
Oh yeah.
So, I know there's crabs in there. I can go get some crab legs.
Hey, what I really want to focus on, because I know when players retire, that's the biggest. I think. Now being my age and have met so many of you guys that have come through over the last almost 3 decades, the hardest part is what to do next. Mm-hmm. Yes, you want to take some time, figure things out. Maybe you planned for it, maybe you didn't. And it sounds to me that your investment to get into coaching afterwards, when you saw the results of your labor, a young man becoming something more than maybe he thought he would, and then transitioning out of the NFL, coaching maze, which it is a maze, and it's constant change. Going to Loyola Academy to be a voice, be something for these young kids before they even get to college. Has this stirred your soul a little bit to give back?
Yeah. I mean, I've always felt that need to do, even when I was playing, and then after I got through playing and coaching, that a lot of people, I come from a single parent home and 2 older sisters, and a lot of people sacrificed for me to get where I got to go to college and to the pros. And so it's my obligation to do the same thing. And even here, doing some mentoring these young men and women here at Loyola. But I just love doing it. And I always tell them, I keep it on my door. I have a thing where it shows, the percentage, what's the percentage of getting to playing professional sports, playing professional football, how many people get drafted, how many actually make teams, and those low numbers and everything. And then I have another thing that shows, what you make with a high school degree, how much you make with a college degree, and the big difference there. And always planning, knowing what I know now, obviously the NFL has done a better job of helping players prepare for the afterlife, after football life. And knowing what I know now, things I would have done differently, I would have probably done much more internships and stuff like that, just to get involved in athletic administration that I enjoy doing now. I try to let these players know, and these student athletes know, that I was fortunate to play 12 years, coach 10 years, but I've been out of, Tommy, I'm curious. I mean, I was done with 33, 35, done with coaching before I was, 50. I mean, I just turned 56. I mean, so I don't care if you play, and I wish everybody the greatest career in the world. Play as long as you can, but you're going to live life much more longer than you play your professional sport. So be sure to work on a plan going forward, because you're going to, no matter what, you're going to be out of sports longer than you will play in it, even if you're fortunate to have a great, illustrious career. That's just the reality. Richard Dent told me a long time ago, he said, Mark, we all have so many hits in our bodies. We have a number. Everybody has a number. Tommy has a number. I have a number. Everybody has a number. When that number is up, you're done, and you don't get them back. If you don't play 1 year, doesn't mean you get those numbers. We all have a number, and when that number is up, you're done. There's nothing you can do about it. So always be prepared. Some have shorter numbers, some have longer numbers. You just don't know when that number is going to be up. But just prepare yourself for when that number is up.
If you play long enough, that number is evident and obvious. If you don't play long enough, you kind of leave something behind, and you wish you had a little bit more. And like Mark said, when my number was up, I knew it. The flight of the football over the top of my head on kickoff return, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore, and there's no turning back. So, but I do think it's what you do to yourself and for yourself in your afterlife that is really going to dictate your fate, because you put so much time and effort into getting to the point to be able to make that decision. But there's still much more important decisions to be made when you go in the locker room, take a uniform on, get on the bus, and from that moment on, life is different.
Yeah, you want fulfillment, right, Mark? Some sort of fulfillment. It's beyond. Yes, you want to provide for your family. Obviously, your family is important to you. You want to see your kids do well, but there's got to be some personal fulfillment for the man.
It took a year after when I finally accepted I wasn't going to play anymore. It took a good year for me to finally get it out of my system to say, okay, I need to do something. I think my wife came home one day, and I was sitting at home watching soap operas, and she looked at me at a haze, and she looked at me and almost wanted to slap me, like, get a grip. What are you doing? Come on, let's go. It's time to move on with your life and everything. So it takes, when you've done something as long as we have for so long, and so regimented and so routine for so many years, like anything else, it takes time to get that out of your system.
Well, Mark, we appreciate you taking the time, and we appreciate all the work you're doing for the kids up north at Loyola, and just your lifetime commitment to a great game of professional football and beyond.
No, thank you guys. I always appreciate you guys having me on and getting a chance to talk with you guys. You guys do a great job. I enjoy it. Appreciate
it. We'll see you up at Hallis or at Soldier Field for an upcoming game this season. It's going to be a wild one, that's for sure.
It definitely will be, yes.
Mark Carrier, our guest here on Bears, Etc. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, I always enjoyed Mark. Love his perspective, and boy, he did a lot of great things, but maybe doing the greatest thing now of helping these kids. I know you always appreciate high school coaches and administrators in the state of Illinois and the impact they make on young men. I saw something from Ennis Rakestraw, the cornerback from Missouri that was drafted, and he had written a letter in 4th grade to his teacher. And in the end, he said, hey, can I have your phone number? I want to keep in touch the rest of my life. And he delivered on that promise to that teacher. That made an impact to him as a 4th grader. And he framed and put it on a plaque, the letter, and presented it to the coach. So you just, hey, listen, we run into people every day. You try and help as many as you can. And you just never know the one that's going to resonate with somebody. So Mark's doing some great stuff.
The adventure, or the kind of the path that Mark and I took. I knew Mark from USC because I went to Notre Dame, and then Mark got drafted in the first round in 1990 when I was at the tail end of my career, and he came in and had a 10 interception year, rookie of the year, made an impact on the football team. We're kind of desperate to have draft choices be productive, and he did all that, had a great career. So I think Mark is an example of hard work, dedication, and what it can lead to. So, yeah, coaching in the NFL, but maybe that wasn't his calling. And you talk about having that sign on his door and letting these high school kids read it. Maybe that's the most important message that he can, put out there, because that's for all the kids to read. It's not only for the athletes, everybody that needs to read that and understand the importance of what they're trying to accomplish and how Mark's trying to help you.
Okay, rookie minicamp. What do you need to see? What do you want to see? What do you hope to see?
It's the obvious. The elephant in the room is you got to see the Caleb Williams, his athleticism, his foundation, his throwing accuracy, the way Mark said he leads people out of the huddle, how he gets his offensive players set up. And then Rome Odunze, You want to see what type of speed, what type of maneuverability, what type of route running he puts on display. And then I want to see what Shane Waldron offers to all the offensive players that are out there. Guys that are scratching the surface of opportunity, the way Shane Waldron kind of incorporates the newly brought aboard Caleb Williams into this offense and get him to understand the terminology as well as he can to get ready to go into OTAs. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you want to see, is there a player out there, maybe an Austin Booker, that's going to be able to take the next step to be incorporated in the defensive personnel as quickly as possible? Because when you talk about offense, you talk about 5 offensive linemen, you want to play the whole game. You talk about a quarterback, you want to play the whole game. The receivers, the running backs, tight ends, they're kind of interchangeable. And the defensive side of the ball, it's a rotating it's a rotating segment of the football team outside the 2 cornerbacks and the 2 safeties. You bring in a nickelback with a linebacker that's interchangeable. So you want to see the development of young personnel that Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham and his staff have brought aboard to say, okay, I think my initial reaction to a rookie minicamp, does this guy stand a chance? Is he coachable? Or maybe should we set our sights on a different position group or a different person?
Yeah, I was thinking Booker too. I mean, yeah, the obvious, as you say, is Caleb, Roma Dunze, want to see them hit the ground running. But Austin Booker, because what will he be able to offer you in year 1 as a 5th-round pick? Yeah, he is young and he is raw, but he is talented. So that would be a huge boost immediately out of the gate. And I'm sure they're going to evaluate that even in a mini camp situation where there's no pads and no major contact or anything, just to see what the Bears defensive coaches can do with him already, what his technique is. Can it be sharpened immediately? And maybe you have less of a concern of going to get another veteran pass rusher out there to pair with DeMarcus Walker out there.
I want to hear Eric Washington. I want to hear Shane Waldron. I want to hear their coaching tactics when they're out there trying to encourage some of these young guys initially, some from the first practice. I want to see the athleticism of Amagaji. Does he have the athleticism in this length that we talk about to play offensive tackle? Or is he like the guy that was drafted from Northwestern last year that ended up playing offensive guard at Tennessee, Skoronsky?
Yeah, Peter.
Okay, that is that the position he's bet fit for? So I think when you bring in an offensive lineman, you really got to look at him, and you got to look at his balance. You got to look at his footwork. You got to look at his hand placement. You got to make sure that he's understanding the information as well as a quarterback. And so there's a lot of little details you got to look at as well.
Tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories, 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Big week ahead for the Bears. Schedule release may or may not be this week. Could be next week. It depends on what you hear. But I know. We all want it. That's for sure. We know who we're playing. We just want to know when. I think everybody's alluded to the fact that with Caleb here and the Bears being a better team on paper at the moment, that we'll see a lot more primetime games and late starts. So we're going to get ready for that for 2024, and we welcome that, certainly. And then we got Bears Care on Saturday night over at Soldier Field, the annual fundraiser. That's always a good time and a good source of getting people together for a good cause. So all that ahead as we inch towards the season. That's going to do it for us. Special thanks to former Bears safety Mark Carrier. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, Tommy.